Welcome to Mike Ferry's podcast. It's going to be a special podcast. We have a very special person with us today. I'll introduce Dan formally in just a moment. But we want to say thank you for your participation. We started doing these podcasts, 6-8 months ago, and the response has been terrific. Thanks to all of you, and thanks to our great contributors that have to sit in the studio with people like me when they could be prospecting and taking listings. So thank you, Dan, very much. Dan Mumm is a ultra successful real estate salesperson for a lot of reasons, and we'll talk about those in a minute, but primarily because of his length of time in the business to accumulate the skill level and the mental toughness that it takes to do a high volume of transactions, and as we'll talk about in a few minutes, without a team. So let me welcome Mr. Dan Mumm, Huntington & Ellis, real estate independent company here in Las Vegas. Dan, nice to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Mike. It's a pleasure.
My pleasure, 100%. So how long in real estate now?
This is my 11th year.
11th year. Were you in real estate on the East Coast at all?
No, just here.
So you moved here, 11, 12 years ago?
No, I was here for about 5 to 6 years before that, so 16 years.
What were you doing?
I sold dietary supplements.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
A little bit different from real estate.
Selling vitamins versus selling houses.
Right. That's
wow.
true.
How did you make the transition? What attracted you? What brought you to saying, I want to be a real estate agent?
Yeah, it's a good question. I realized at my last job I was making about $50,000 a year, which I thought was a good income at that time.
It was good income at that time.
Sure, it was a while ago. And I realized I was working harder than everyone, but I was getting paid the same. Yeah. So I wanted some kind of sales job, and I just happened to knew someone who sold real estate, and that's how it happened.
And when did you join Craig? Or did you start with him?
It was my third or fourth year in the
And
business.
who did you work with before that?
Berkshire Hathaway before.
A lot of the people at Craig's company, including Craig, came out of Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah, that's true. What drew me to Craig was I wanted to be around people that were producing what I wanted to do or more than what I was doing.
Yes.
And so you always mention that, Mike, that you want to be around people doing more than you, and that's what drew me there to begin with, and it was the best move I ever made.
Good for you. Why would you not open your own company?
That's a distraction, I think. I try and just stay world-class at the few things that I want to be world-class at and leave the rest to someone else, and it's just a little bit too much of a distraction trying to manage agents and brokerage compliance, all of that.
I ask that question all the time because I got asked that question all the time. I work for Pat McVeigh, as you've heard me state, and Pat said, if you want to leave, go ahead, but you'll be back.
Sure.
And I tell that to people that leave coaching. In fact, I told 2 people today that have left after 15, 18 years in coaching with us, and I said, you'll be back, the door's open.
Right.
Which is fun. So where in the East Coast did you come from?
I was in New Jersey.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I lost the accent. Luckily, I lost the accent.
Do you go back at all?
Not too much. My parents came out here to follow me, so
Good.
Not too much anymore.
Good. You're getting married soon?
Yes, next month.
Next month? Mm-hmm. Good. And can we tell them where?
Sure.
Because you won't have people dropping in.
No, I hope not.
They're getting married. They're getting married in Switzerland, which is really a beautiful place.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, that's good. I asked Dan a question before we came into the studio. How do you stay out of the heat in the summer? And he and his new wife-to-be have a place in San Diego. And the nice part about real estate, you can work in Las Vegas any place else you want to be as long as you have the phone. So, I really respect that.
Yeah, and a large part of that, I think, Mike, is being a listing agent, which you've taught me to do, because when you're a listing agent, you can control your schedule. When I leave to go to San Diego, all of the other agents in Vegas are selling my inventory for me without me being there, which is nice.
So I used to do the same thing. I would take a lot of golf trips when I was an agent. It drove Pat McVeigh crazy. He said, can you imagine what you could do if you work full time?
Sure. Yeah.
But, I said, Pat, there's 2,300 members of our local board in Huntington Beach, Fountain Valley. And when I list a property, they go to work for me.
Right. Exactly.
So I tell the seller, you're not listing with me. You're listing with the person that's going to bring agents to you.
Right.
And it makes a difference, that's for sure. How long you been in coaching?
Pretty much my whole career. I joined my first year, so 10 years, I think.
Had
right
you?
around there.
Good
Yeah.
for you. So you did that $50,000 deal with me.
I did. Twice, yeah.
Oh, that's right. In fact, you were in a seminar and said, I just made the deposit for doing it again.
Right.
Why did you do that? Why did you do it the first time?
Well, I thought about this a lot, Mike. You know what I realized is that you are the one person that you don't have any incentive to teach us things except for us to be more productive and more profitable.
Yes.
You're not trying to sell any quick fixes or magic pills. Every other coach or trainer, they do, right? So
Yes.
I realized that if your only goal is for us to be more productive and more profitable, you don't have anything to gain other than us being better agents.
That's right.
Why not try and just do everything you say? And in my opinion, the investment of the $50,000 just got me more proximity to you, more of an understanding of your philosophy and why you think the way you think, and it was invaluable. Doing it twice was the best investment I ever made.
Thank you. I've had 3 people do it twice. I've had 22 people do it in the last 3 years, and 3 of you people took advantage of it and did it twice. I've got 3 cards in my pocket of young guys that want to do it, and my challenge is, do I really want to do it? Which is fun. So you had something unique take place in the month of July. And I'll read to all of you what Dan did. He went on 28 listing appointments, took 23 listings in 1 month. So on the 5 you didn't get, did they turn you down? Did you turn them down? What happened?
Some of them turned me down. I think 4 turned me down, and 1 I decided not to take.
Okay, and was it pricing and commission?
Basically, yeah, pretty much any listing that I'm not getting, it's either can't come to agreement on the price or we're charging too much in their eyes.
So as soon as Dan told me that he had done this, I was impressed. I think my biggest month was 17 listings. I said to Dan, how many listings have you averaged this year, not counting July, per month? And the number was
16, 17, around there. So you were averaging more than I was, I'm sure, but July was a longer month, and we talked about that. I didn't take any vacation, so it was a little unusual. But yeah, it was great.
my average sales price was $27,500. That's about the commissions that some of you get on your transactions, which is fun. So what did you do different? Because that's extraordinary effort and energy put into 1 month. I mean, you could have aged 5 years with that, and you didn't, fortunately.
Luckily. Yeah, I think the number one thing which we've discussed, Mike, is that I kept my pre-qualifying and my pre-listing routine exactly the same, and I didn't mess with it at all. So that means pre-qualifying 100% of the questions, not changing it, calling to confirm after I set the appointment, getting them a pre-listing package. I do that before I call to confirm. I get them a pre-listing package, I call to confirm, showing up 15 minutes early every time, no exceptions.
So I was telling Dan, sitting in my office a few minutes ago, that I've had a couple arguments with noted real estate professionals that have been clients for 10, 20, 30 years that said to me, when I told them what number one was, they go, what is the listing process for pre-qualifying? And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, all these years me talking about asking the pre-qualifying questions, and I guess none of them do, or a good portion of them don't. What was number two on your list?
Well, there were a few things. Another item was just keeping things really simple and having one simple goal, one monthly listing taken goal. And I learned that when we worked together in our $50,000 thing. Just having one goal in mind that's very simple that you have in front of you every day, it just helps keep things moving forward, not trying to overcomplicate it, trying to do a bunch of different things. Every day when I woke up, I had a note card. It was a 3x5 card. It said 28 listings taken by this date, by the time I leave for my wedding. And so I just did a tally mark every time I took one, and I looked at that every day so I knew if I was on track or off track.
That is great. Simplicity.
Right.
What was the third thing you did?
Trying to remember the pre-qualifying and pre-listing process. That's a big part of it. Keeping it simple. And then the other item was my systems.
Yes.
So trying to do things exactly the same way every single time. I kind of see it like a fast food chain, right? The ones that do well, like Chick-fil-A, for example, they don't change the recipe. They do it exactly the same every single time.
That's true.
And that helps them get better at it.
Yes.
Because when you're constantly changing it, you can't really improve because it's always being done differently. When you do it the same way, you realize what works, what doesn't work, and you learn a lot more that way.
Carl Karcher Sr. started Carl's Hamburgers, and I'm not 100% sure if I'm giving these numbers right, but his son and I are the same age. We grew up together at different schools in Orange County, and Carl Jr. and I played golf together quite often.
Wow.
And he, I think, owned about 150 of the franchises. And one day we were sitting at lunch and I said, "What do you guys do differently than the other franchises?" He said, "Well, watch. We come in here, you and I, and we have lunch. We order pretty much the same thing every day, and it's never the same."
Yeah,
Isn't that interesting?
it is. Yeah.
And I said, "Wow." And he said, "We try to convince our franchisee that if they follow the recipe verbatim, they'll have great success." And he got divorced, and it's been quite a long time ago, but he had to give his future ex-wife $20 million in cash.
Wow.
That's a lot of cash.
Yeah.
But it's because he repetitively did the same thing.
Right.
So when I ask, why do you change? Why do you change the system? And why do you change how you do things? It's boring. I said, you're making 10, 15, 18,000 bucks a deal. How can that be boring?
It's a good question. Yeah, I guess boredom is sometimes it's a bigger threat to success than failure is, just being bored and changing things. So that's one thing. I guess as an athlete, I was an athlete, and so we dealt with a lot of repetitious boredom, just doing the same drills over and over and over again. So maybe for me, that came a little bit more naturally than for some.
Was it hockey or soccer?
Hockey.
Hockey.
Yeah.
And, because of our local team here, Sabrina and I have been going to a lot of games, and we went to all the playoffs, and I said to her, and we sit in row 2 behind the bench, and seats 1 and 2 is where we sit. And I said to her, I never realized that a hockey team, for as fast as they go, and as big and brutal as the sport actually is, they're running plays.
Right. Yeah, they're set plays all the time.
Yeah, it's just like the scripts that we give you folks to use. If you follow the script, follow the play, you score.
Sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why did you not proceed in that hockey business?
That just wasn't good enough, and there was a limit to what I could do, so had to move on.
Well, that's like our mutual friend John Sullivan.
Right.
Played 10 years, and I said, "Why did you quit?" He said, "I wasn't any good."
He was better than I was, but yeah.
That's fun. So I asked Dan, and I can't remember the answer you gave me. I said, "Can you do it again when you come back from your holiday? Can you ever accomplish 23 listings again?"
Yeah, I can. The plan is November will be a long working month where I'll have enough time. And I think part of high production is planning your year in advance, which you've taught us to do, and starting January 1st, planning when you're going to be working, when you're taking vacation. And so I've gotten a lot better at that and knowing which months I'm going to have the opportunity to really produce at a high level. So November will be that again. I also have been working with Tony I have certain months where I'm focusing more on my taking listings and certain months for selling listings and really trying to get things moving. Because in Vegas, certain seasons are better than others. Like in the spring, there's a lot more buyer activity. So those months I'm really focusing on inventory management, getting listings sold.
Yeah.
So November will be the next month to try and break that.
Good for you. Somebody in the background would be cheering because it's just our young cameraman here, Dakota, has to sit and listen to a lot of these.
Sure.
And I always get a kick out of Dakota as he's shaking his head yes to the things that you say.
Right. And the other thing, because you asked earlier, Mike, about what I did differently, I just remembered the last one was pre-qualifying my leads stronger and doing it faster. And that was a big part of it.
So talk about that for a minute. When you say pre-qualifying stronger and faster.
Yeah, I think ultimately it comes down to just making decisions faster, which again, you've taught us to do for quite a while. I'm an analytical, so I tend to slow down and overthink and hem and haw. Is this person serious? Are they not serious? Am I maybe losing an opportunity? So just keeping it very simple, 2 questions. Do you still need to sell your home? Yes or no? If yes, what time can we meet? If there's any hemming and hawing or maybe or no, you throw them out, you move on.
Yeah.
What that requires us to do is prospect more, which is
That's
what
right.
most people are trying to avoid doing.
Yeah. So why is that? Why do you, I mean, we have 1.2 million agents in the United States today. We lost 400,000 in the first 5 or 6 months. I assume it's because they couldn't pay their MLS dues. So then, of course, the statistics came out from NAR that 84% of the agents have not done a listing or a sale this year. How do you do that? I mean, what do you do? And I don't expect an answer, but I've talked to some of them and I go, what do you do all day? Because you and I talked about the fact that when you have some downtime, you pick up the phone and call.
Sure.
So that brings us to your schedule. Can you describe an average day for us?
Sure. It's very simple. My mornings are for generating. My afternoons are for going on appointments. Now, where I am in my production, I have appointments most days. We talked about that in the office. So it's a little bit different from earlier in my career when I didn't have appointments most days. But the average day, I'll have 2 appointments, usually around 1 and 3 p.m. I have one right after when I'm done here. And then in the mornings, it's all about just generating business and prospecting. So
Yes.
I'm up at 5:45. I do my personal development for a half hour, listening to your tapes or coaching calls. I start prospecting around 7:30. I'm calling the expireds for sale by owners. I do my prospecting for 2.5, 3 hours. At this point, it's mostly my database, people that I know that I'm calling during that window. And then I do about an hour of admin time in the middle of the day, around 11 to 12.
Good for you. And then afternoons for appointments.
Right. And then when I come back from my last appointment, I call the expireds again and I do lead follow-up in the afternoon again. I found that you get a much better response sometimes in the afternoons because a lot of people work and they don't answer the phone in the morning when we're trying to call them. So I try and call them again in the afternoon.
So you will call back some expireds in the afternoon that you couldn't reach in the morning.
Exactly.
So we have a great couple back in, well, they're not too far from New Jersey. They're up in the Northeast. Pat Cody and his wife, and Patrick, you may have met, tall, handsome man, and he's got a beautiful wife, Mary Ann. And he did the $50,000 deal with me. In fact, we stopped it in about a week and a half. We went 7 months or 6 months. And I said to Patrick, when you don't reach people, because he was telling me that he's having a hard time reaching people in the morning, switch to the afternoon. So if you had 10 buy owners and 10 expired you're trying to reach, or 10 people from your database, because he wants to have about 30 contacts a day, do it in the afternoon.
Sure. I mean, if you call someone at the same time every morning over and over, they're probably not going to answer again in the morning. So.
That's right. That's good. Goals for 2026. How many listings do you expect to take this year?
So the goal was 165 listings taken. Right now I've attended 123 and I've attended 123 and I've taken 103. So I'm on track for about 175, which is above the goal. Now, as we mentioned, I'm getting married, so I'm going to be gone for about 3.5 weeks. So
Yeah.
I need to be ahead of my goal by the time I leave because that'll come down a little bit.
That's good. So we better hurry up on this podcast.
Yeah, I got to get back to it.
What percentage of your listings sell?
About 80%.
80%.
Right.
And do you feel that you have control of that?
Oh, 100%. Most of it. I mean, there's some scenarios that I can control if someone gets an unexpected divorce or there's a death in the family, but the majority of it we control, absolutely.
Good for you. You've heard me rant and rave about this excitement of teams. How big is your team?
I have one buyer's agent.
One buyer's agent. How many assistants?
I have a virtual assistant, I have a transaction coordinator, and I have a runner.
Did you hear that, those of you doing 20 deals a year? A virtual assistant, a
Transaction coordinator.
transaction coordinator, and a runner, and one buyer's agent.
Right.
How many transactions does your buyer agent do a year?
About 50.
About 50. Is it a man or woman?
Woman,
To me, women are much better real estate agents than men,
100%.
especially with buyers.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's good. Are you planning to expand that?
No, I've done that in the past. I had 3 at one point. My buyer agent now is incredible. She does more than the 3 did combined, but no, it's just a huge distraction. It's not profitable. It seems to be all just for the ego. It doesn't really. I just learned, Mike, very quickly and easily, I guess, doing the math, that the most profitable thing we can do is take listings, and
That's
the
right.
more you can do that, the better.
But that revolves around the prospecting, which
Right.
how many contacts on an average day do you make?
About 25.
25. And it's specifically buy owners, expireds, database.
Correct. So by owner's expired database, and then if there's remaining time, it's calling around my listings.
Okay. Do you get any negative feedback from calling around your listings?
No, I think most people these days, I think this is probably the best time to prospect in the last 30 years because no one does it. There's not many people calling. So when
Yeah.
I'm calling around my listings, they're not getting calls from even expired listings. I feel like they're not these days getting called as much as they used to be. So
Yeah.
I think it's the best time ever to do that.
Why do you think that we've went through this wave of everybody prospecting and now we're in a nobody's prospecting except for the good people? Why do you think people stop prospecting?
I don't know. I wish I had the answer to that, but I think there's just a lot of quick fixes and magic pills and people that are
Yeah.
teaching these things, and people want to try and find a way to become productive without really working.
Yeah.
I think that's why they're drawn to the team model in most cases, is because whether or not they admit it, the idea is, well, other people are going to do the selling and I'm going to sit back in my chair and enjoy. And it just obviously doesn't really work that way.
Yeah. And then they see people like you and I know, Bernie and Josh, that do extraordinary amounts of business. And they think that's easy. And Bernie, I coach Bernie and Josh, both of these individuals. And Bernie said, I don't think I've ever worked as hard as I have since I got this team operating at the level it operates. And it's operating at a high level.
Sure.
No question about it. If I said, Dan, give me 3 or 4 or 1 thoughts on what you think these people could do to become more productive.
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. So I think the mistake that I made, and this would apply to those people in the back, the mistake that I made, Mike, I did join coaching very early. I was very lucky to be introduced to very early in my career. But I would say the first 5 or so years, I still questioned things. I still doubted it, even just internally.
Yeah.
I would hear you say things and I would think, maybe that worked 50 years ago. That doesn't work anymore. Maybe that,
I hear that every day.
yeah, they still say that. So what changed was, interestingly, I noticed when I joined Craig, I noticed John became very successful very quickly. I mean, his
Yeah.
ascent, he was doing 150 transactions, I think,
That's
one of
right.
his first 4 or 5 years in the business. And I thought to myself, wow, all these excuses I've been telling myself are BS, right?
Yeah.
It's just I noticed that he jumped in a lot faster. He had more blind faith than I did.
Yes.
That's really what it boiled down to. And so
Expressive.
yeah, that helps sometimes.
Yeah.
So I was my 5th or 6th year in, and then I realized, I have to stop making excuses and just have some blind faith. Even these things, if I question them or doubt them, I have to just try it and let the results speak for themselves, and that made the biggest difference for me.
Good for you. If you're part of that group in group 3, listen to what Dan said. In fact, listen to this recording every day to get a better indication. There's 1,000 questions that they will send to me, and I'll forward some of them to you that are universal.
Sure.
Because people want role models. People want to be able to look up to somebody. And quite honestly, there's not a lot of people in real estate to look up to.
No, that's one of the biggest challenges, Mike, is in the last 10 years, because of the whole team model becoming popular and social media and some of the garbage in our society, there's not as many role models to look up to. You're the number
That's
one
right.
person, and there's some great agents, I would say, from 10 to 20 years ago who really focused on personal production and being profitable, but it's increasingly rare, so it's
Yeah.
important we stay close and tied to that.
Well, folks, I hope that you are listening carefully to one of the best agents in the country. 175 listings he's on track to take, and that's one person by themselves no big team, a simple schedule, and then using the material that Mike Ferry has suggested. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Outstanding.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And happy wedding.
Thank you. Need the good luck. Thanks.
Thanks, folks.